So you're a landscape photographer. You shoot outdoor photography from the first flower that pops up out of the ground in spring all the way through till fall. You get the beautiful fall foliage, but then fall quickly passes and the landscape becomes barren. All the foliage falls to the ground, the woodland quickly becomes bare, and landscape photography becomes really challenging. On top of that, you have the time change, and the amount of daylight is slowly getting less and less each day as the year goes on, and now you're faced with another challenge of no light. It's dark when you go into work, it's dark when you're done work. It's really hard to find time to do landscape photography. So what do you do as a landscape photographer in late fall and early winter when the snow hasn't quite hit the ground yet? Stay tuned, and in this video I'll share with you guys some of my tips for shooting landscape photography in late autumn and early winter. So in late autumn and early winter, our opportunities for good lighting becomes less and less. The first factor is that the amount of sunlight per day is actually getting less and less, and towards the end of the year, there's only about like 6 to 7 hours of available light. So that can be really challenging as outdoor photographers. Also, as winter approaches, we're gonna start to see more stormy weather and cloudy weather. We don't see too many sunny days in early winter and late fall. So because we have less opportunities for burning sunrises and burning sunsets and getting those ideal lighting conditions, my first tip would be try to focus on subject and composition, not so much light. You'll quickly start to beat yourself up where you're checking weather conditions and it's like, oh, it's not going to be a good sunrise, I'm just going to stay in bed. Or, oh, I'm not going to go out at sunset because it's just pure overcast, it's not going to be worth it. I find that you can quickly convince yourself not to go out more and more because the lighting conditions aren't that good. You're actually working against yourself when you're doing that because you're getting outside less and less, and getting outside with your camera ultimately is going to decide how good of a photographer you are. I would really encourage you to just keep getting outside and not focus on the lighting conditions, but rather focus on strong subjects and strong compositions, because you don't necessarily need really good light to get good images. I find that when shooting at water focal lengths this time of year, it's really challenging because you have all these dead elements, all the trees, much like the frame I'm in here, all the foliage is died off, all the trees and branches are just kind of laying dead on the ground, and I really find that that doesn't add to your photography but kind of works against it. So my next tip would be to shoot at mid-range or longer range focal lengths. When shooting at longer focal lengths, you're going to exclude all these dead elements, let's say, and you're going to have the added benefit of the compression at those longer focal lengths. So it's going to be easier to incorporate whatever subjects you want within your frame. And if you're shooting woodland photography at water focal lengths, you're going to include a lot of the sky, which is going to bring with it exposure, challenges. You're going to have blown out highlights because you don't have that foliage protecting you from the sun anymore. When shooting at longer focal lengths, you can kind of get rid of the sky really easy. You can kind of shoot parallel with the ground and pick out different subjects and compositions that interest you. So that's my next tip. Try to stick to the mid-range or longer range focal lengths at this time of year, and really just pick out subjects and composition, because if you're going to be shooting at wider focal lengths this time of year, you're going to be including a lot of dead elements that I find aren't really the nicest for photography. So in late autumn and early winter, it can be really challenging, like I mentioned before, as a landscape photographer. Because it's always dark out, it can quickly become depressing and demotivating as a human, and not necessarily as a landscape photographer. You can find yourself being at home and feeling tired and just going, oh my gosh, what time is it? And then you look at the clock, it's only like 6:30. Because we're in this weird time of the year, it can be really demotivating as a creative, and it becomes really challenging to get out there and exercise your creative outlet. This is when engagement with nature is most important, and this is why it's so important at this time of the year to try to get outside to the best of your abilities. Even if you don't take your camera with you, a simple walk through the park or just getting outside, walking around your neighborhood, tends to inspire people and motivate them to kind of get that creative oomph back, and you can get back to your perfecting your craft and bettering your landscape photography. So my third and final tip isn't actually a tip, it's just hopefully inspiration or motivation for you guys. Try to get out there and do landscape photography as much as you can, because it'll actually help you through these dark and challenging times. So that's my third and final tip. Just try not to beat yourself up in these challenging times, and try to do things that inspire you and kind of feed your creativity. So that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I inspired you to engage with nature more and get out there, not necessarily with your camera, but just get outside and enjoy nature. Do whatever you gotta do to stay inspired, and just keep creating. So thanks again, guys, for watching the video, and I hope I see you in the next one, I guess.